Ah, aloha. Let's just begin the little drop in, taking some deep, slow inhales and exhales as if you could breathe through the bottoms of your feet. Allowing the energies of the earth to rise and meet your feet. Grounding any excess energy in the nervous system. And opening to the energy of Source. Allowing this energy to fill every cell of your being in the highest, best, and healthiest way for you at this time. And just speaking out loud to yourself, it is commanded and requested that all energy that is not mine be resolved to completion, sent back to the light, and replaced with my soul's direct connection to Source and Source's perspective of it all. One of the most powerful mantras in this class that we can discuss is, "This is not mine to heal." In the anatomy of a healer, one of the most important things to know is what is not yours to heal. It's interesting in private sessions over the last week, as we were getting closer to this class, it was things come in waves, and whatever wave that I'm bringing through is kind of what shows up in the field with clients. And there were so many people, typically the elder generation. I worked with a lot of elders this week, and they're trying to work through all these things in their life that they've been working on forever and ever and ever. And what's curious is things that you can't seem to move past, things that you've recycled over and over and over again in your journey. What are the chances that the reason you can't surpass it is because it has nothing to do with you? As a super sensitive being, awakening to your own potential and deepening your understanding of what it means to be sensitive and aware and empowered all at once. Sometimes we find that empowerment through trying to heal ourselves. But are we doing our own homework or someone else's? So part of that individuation process that we did in last class, you may have noticed in the last 2 weeks, moving through different scenarios where your individuation was becoming clear to you. Oh, wow, I'm allowed to have my own opinions and experience, or I allow others to have their own opinion and experience. One of the most important things to healing the heart is depersonalization. I've said this many times. If you've done private sessions with me, you probably heard me say it a few times. Depersonalization is the key to getting intimate with everything in your life that hurts, that you can't transmute. Or seem to remove from your life. Because when something is so personal, you can't actually see it objectively. And when you're in subjective experience, you're not able to get to the root of something because you think it is about you. And the root of any feeling that you encounter has nothing to do with you. You have a personal experience of something that you're interfacing with. But when you depersonalize it, you can then truly investigate it because it doesn't matter what you find out. When everything is so personalized, you don't have the capacity to deeply understand something because it will destroy an identity, and the ego is always trying to prevent its destruction. So we don't fight the architecture of the ego, we work with it. The ego is designed to protect you. So what do? You make it not about you. You depersonalize it, which actually is just true. It has nothing to do with you. But it's also very helpful. So where in my life have I struggled the most? For me, it's always been confidence and self-worth. Ironically, those are the two things that my soul holds the most. Self-value, everything that I talk about is value. That's what presence is the receptivity of value. Confidence is something that my soul came in with. So whatever things that you've struggled with the most in your life, the reason why you're experiencing those things the most is because the opposite of that is what your soul is. And so as your soul is coming into form, as we've talked about before, it's pressing out of your cells all that's not in resonance with who you are. So what areas in your life have been the deepest struggle? What is the quality, the name, whatever it is? If it's anger, you come in with a lot of passion. If it's self-worth, then your soul is radically confident. Is it thoughtlessness, kind of oblivious? Then you have great attention to detail. If it's pain, you come in as one bearing lots of comfort. If it's jealousy, then you're someone who is here to manifest a lot. If it's sorrow, your soul's natural vibration is that of joy. In Hawaii, there's a word called akamai, which is like clever, but it really means more clever than the most clever person in the room. It's like a step above. It's like akamai. And life is a meditation of zooming out as deeply as you can while coming into the body as much as possible. And it's a process of being akamai that allows that to happen. When you're judging someone, you're jealous of them on some level. So I can try and fix the judgment, but that's actually just an inaccurate understanding of what's occurring. I can just see, I'm judging this person for, let's say, being crass. I judge this person for being crass. I'm actually jealous of the freedom that they have in expressing themselves. So how can I just give myself more permission to express myself, knowing that I, through discernment, am not going to express myself like that, but I can give myself permission to express myself in the way that's good for me. If I'm feeling very angry and upset about something, where can I integrate more passion into my life that's not being expressed? There's a lot of sorrow or depression that I'm moving through. How can I make choices to express more of my joy? And what do I have to be willing to grieve to completion in order to move on? Maybe there's something that I have a little bit of gain in. And by staying small, I can keep that small amount of gain that I have. And there's a value and a benefit to contentment. But life is also about growth and evolution. And part of what Anatomy of Thriving is going to be about, which is next Sunday, is going to be very much that. Existing within the contentment of what is, no matter what it is, so that then I can free myself from the bondage of not receiving values and virtues from whatever I'm experiencing, that allows me to actually step into and make the choices required to move forward. So today is the heart of healing, and talked about this a few different times. I'm not sure exactly where, but definitely in writing and in some point. And that is that healing can be broken down into a little mandala, and HE on one side, let's say on the left side. So whatever your left side is, you have HE. Above you would be AL. to your right would be IN, and below you would be G. So it spells healing. HE is the masculine. Above you, the AL is all light or all love. And then to the right, you have IN, which is the intuitive or the feminine. And then the G, which is the grounding. So these are the 4 quadrants to kind of look at whenever you're working through something in your life. Masculine, what do I need to do? What things do I need to organize? What are the action steps? This is also where that anger and passion piece comes from. The masculine is going to drive that passion into the world, but if it's not being utilized in a healthy way, if I'm feeling a lot of anger, and there's something that I'm not really moving through properly through the channel of masculine energy. All light, all love. This is where we honor and accept and receive that high-minded perspective of whatever we're going through. So we have to honor this as well. The IN, the intuitive, the feminine. To be truly intuitive, we have to slow down beyond what we'd like to slow down and make decisions or come to realizations from a place that is just before we would make that decision, if that makes sense. So if I need to make a decision by Friday, for example, instead of trying to figure out and rushing towards that decision, knowing that that understanding of what I need to do by that time will arrive somewhere between now and then. Being intuitive is relaxing into the mystery, the not knowing, the emptiness, the void. So where am I filling my time with things that I don't necessarily need to be doing? That might be entertainment. This is where a lot of like addiction to entertainment comes from. Because we just don't feel comfortable in that unknown. And that can be something that we work with. What fears are showing up in that space? What am I afraid to feel? So you can balance out the feminine by just simply asking, what have I not felt that I'd rather not feel? And show me how to feel that with the most amount of grace, ease, and mercy in my heart towards whatever that is. I give myself permission to feel my feelings, and it's okay. The G is the grounding, and that is your human self. This part gets squashed a lot. The part of you that is primal. It's the part that wants to scream and yell and throw things around when it's upset, not getting what it wants. But it's also the part of you that's deeply sensual, sexual, physically loving, nurturing of all the physical things that you need and want. It's the place of desire. So your body is encoded with all of these desires of your heart. The masculine and the feminine aspects of your being are what allow you to move into creation of that. And all light or all love is what allows and pulls and magnetizes you to the highest, fullest qualities of that desire. And healing in itself is a desire. But what is healing as a desire? is truly to be more efficient with our energy. Most things that we want to heal are just things that we'd rather not be focused on. So they are, in some aspect, distractions. And again, that's why it's so important. If healing is the desire, what am I healing, and what, if any of this is even mine to heal? I remember the first time a mentor told me that because of how sensitive I am, like, I just need to say every day, this is not mine to heal. Just releasing that responsibility. Because all forms of codependency are in some part us trying to heal something that has nothing to do with us. We have to assume on some level that people are making choices that are helping them to thrive. If someone is hurting, some part of them is thriving in that pain. It's a twisted part sometimes, but some part of them is thriving. And only someone healed and resolved as a soul would even be curious to explore things that are so damaged, experiences that are so damaged. You can think of all the things that you've experienced in this lifetime as the concrete, the rocks that you were born in. And the seed of your light crushes those rocks, that concrete, just by simply growing up, moving through it. All the people that came before us, the generations that came before us, as I was working with elders this week, like just sitting in awe of all that they've been through. The world that they lived in at that time was so intense. Us now, we wouldn't be where we are if we had to go through those same experiences. There were some exceptional souls who made it through in such a powerful way in a short period of time, but the point of density is actually the experience of time. The more density someone has, the more time they have. That's why as things become lighter and lighter, you may experience that your sense of time is disappearing because the density in your body is also disappearing. Things feel more easeful and effortless as you go along, even though there may still be struggles here and there. But notice when you're struggling that it feels like you're really in time, that you're going to be there forever. And it's meant to feel like you're there forever so that you can extract the most out of it. Mm. Just bathing in your own silence. Also important related to the heart is the natural heart. My heart is naturally angry right now. My heart is naturally jealous, naturally upset. We think of open-heartedness as being just that which feels really good. And it does feel good. But having a natural heart is however your heart is right now. And when you can say, oh, this is just how my heart naturally is, do you notice that your heart is naturally open? Because you are open to however things are naturally in this moment. And it's just for this moment. Maybe that moment lasts a long time. But however your heart is naturally in any moment, and your willingness to just admit how it naturally is will give you an open-hearted experience no matter what your natural heart is experiencing. Feeling into your own heart. The heart is the meeting point of the bodies, from physical to ethereal. Notice how we have a physical heart, and when you think of the heart chakra, you don't think of your physical heart, you think of that space, that energy that we're all aware of on one level or another. There's the physical aspect, the energetic aspect. It is commanded and requested that I am shown the truth of my heart. Doesn't have to be anything big or wild. It's really a simple energy. We might feel closed off. But what is the value of a closed off heart? And my bet is that your heart isn't actually closed off. You're just used to comparing how your natural heart is to an idea of something that someone gave you of what should be. What I just said is perfect a little example of balancing this healing. The 4 quadrants. We get twisted in this idea of what should be, what ought to be. And the heart does have varying degrees of expression that could be seen as levels. But what's most important is what's naturally here right now. And through your heart, you collapse the polarities of different extremes. The more open your heart becomes, the deeper your capacity to feel things that don't feel so good. But this is when your heart becomes a vortex, transmutation. Your heart is what, through your hands, as a body worker, can heal the body of those you're working with, magnetizing, lifting all aspects of their being to that frequency of your heart. Your heart has a transmission that you are giving to the world around you at all times. You don't need to constantly be aware of your heart, but the more often that you come back to just feeling and perceiving this gentle, expansive warmth, the easier it becomes to live from this space. We can be afraid of how simple and powerful the energy of the heart is, instead preferring the understanding of the mind. In all of your relationships, are you comfortable with feeling? Or do you need understanding in order to relate to others? Do people need to agree with you in order for you to relate to others? And I'm going to point out a very sticky subject, but I think it's very important. And it's very relevant still somehow. And now I get it. If you're talking about intimate relationships, and I don't see any problem there, that's up to you. But not being able to relate to people who have a different vaccine status is wild. It's insane, actually. And what I mean by insane is people are escaping their reality because they don't feel safe for whatever reason that their mind is making up. And so they escape into the mind to only relate to others who have the same understanding of mind. Unfortunately for those people, it's going to become increasingly difficult to exist in that form of reality. And that's what I call the collapse of understanding. There are so many different perspectives, so many different options for evidence for your experience that you can believe, experience, understand anything to be in any particular way. Part of interior design is an individuation, an allowance of your personal sovereignty into the world. It doesn't mean sovereignty over others. It means sovereignty within yourself. It means harmony within a world that looks, feels, and knows itself completely differently from how you do. Can we celebrate that? Now, personally, I wouldn't advise to do certain medical things, but that's up to someone else to decide for themselves. We're coming out of consensus reality in so many different ways. Life is going to be so cool in the future. It'll be like going from cable TV to all the different subscriptions that we have. Not everyone's going to watch the same channel. Just because someone watches Earth TV doesn't mean they can't also watch Jesus Christ TV. Whatever it is. The thing that's interesting is we'll move into a time where it doesn't matter what people believe. It just matters if they can believe that and get along with people that believe other things. That will be the true marker. And that is humanity descending from the mind where the victim and the victimizer exist, and fragmented consciousness that only seeks understanding because it's the only way it can relate to other fragments, into holistic consciousness coming from the heart that allows us to relate to anyone regardless of their ideas, their beliefs, their conclusions, their understandings, their perspectives, or perceptions. Love is what overwrites all programs. Any belief that gets reprogrammed, we're just collapsing a distortion, which is just the difference between the way that we see something and the way that source sees. So that more love can be present in that perspective. When you're healing an infection in the body, it is more love that's doing that. All the other stuff that comes along with it is brain candy. I love the brain candy. I can get nitty gritty and granular and tell you, oh yeah, we're deleting this program, that belief, this idea, and that is what was holding that infection in your body, and we're releasing that. I love that. But in order to integrate everything that's in this class, it's not required. And that's what I want to get across. You're going to have to die and be crucified by all the things that you think are important, all the ideas, all the beliefs, all the conclusions, understandings that you think are important to be spiritual or to integrate enlightenment. You're going to have to die too, because it has nothing to do with anything. It is love. It's almost like when you have like people have like a delicious dip and they're like using chips and they're like, literally the chip is just the train, like that's the delivery device. All those extra things are just the delivery device for more love. So you can, if you understand that, you won't get caught up in the understanding, which the architecture energetically for understanding has collapsed. Trying to look and experience life in that way will increasingly become disturbing, uncomfortable, and dangerous. You'll see this as we go into the election. Hopefully we can integrate consciousness collectively enough where that's less of an issue. But you can see the polarization, and we can look at that through the mind as a victim or a victimizer of like, look what they're doing to us. Or we can understand the benefit, the value, and the virtue that life is providing through these experiences. This is how we get akamai to what is happening. Don't look with what is happening here in your eyes. Look from a higher place. Don't even look from this. We'll get to that later, but this is not actually a place. Your third eye is not where you intuit. You don't, this is a projection field. This is how you project into reality. This is not where we receive information. We receive information now directly. This is why everything is through your direct connection to source. I am not sharing my perspectives, right? I mean, this is my perspective, but as far as when we're doing downloads, it's always through your soul's direct connection to source, because you have a unique frequency that is totally different than mine. I'm just reflecting that you can get there directly through your own connection. And you can, through these commands and the system, an objective system of awakening consciousness into the body, which is what interior design is, you can download your own connection to source, your unique frequency, so that you can be the most saturated, vivid frequency of your particular part of the human rainbow, your specific hue. Consensus reality is collapsed. So subscribe to whatever understanding is beneficial in this moment. But let everything that you subscribe to be a stepping stone instead of a resting rock. Because there's always more love to integrate. And love doesn't necessarily understand things, it just notices things. And this is where the quote unquote like woke mob idea comes from. Like, we have to adhere to a certain specific way of saying things, understanding things in order to be good. That's consensus reality at its peak. With good intentions, but it's still consensus reality at its peak. That is already beginning to fade and integrate as people come into the heart space and will feel people's intentions behind their words. Some people are trying to be vicious. We all know when that is so. But this gets into the architecture of consensus reality as it relates to the throat, this like pressure to create a specific vibration. And that is the old way of living in this reality. The new way is going to be like, it's like going from New York City to Burning Man. It's like from complete order and creative accomplishment vertically, integrating everything vertically to like expansive creative chaos. And why humans have tended to move away from that is out of a fear and out of knowing that you being around people of all kinds of different ideas and beliefs and conclusions and experiences, it stirs things up in people. And the reason why society will quote unquote collapse is it's not in the way that people, it's not going to be like the kind of chaos that some people are preparing for, although things will get weird in certain areas. The collapse that is coming is the way in which people have designed reality around themselves to ensure that their ego feels safe. That's collapsed. If I need things to be a certain way in order for me to feel safe in the world, that's a fragile system. And life is working in the direction of anti-fragility. Things are becoming more resilient. This is another aspect of the heart that's so important, is understanding that I am that which only takes in what makes it stronger. And everything makes me stronger. You can, with that understanding and perspective of life, you can take in anything and metabolize it. It doesn't matter what it is. Again, it was like after I was raped, it's like my mantra for years was, thank you for raping me. Thank you for showing me who I am in response to anything. That I can live through these experiences and look like I can smile and like genuinely mean that. And we've all been through that. Look, just think about history. Like at what point are we going to realize our resiliency? Look what the world has been through. Historically, all the wars, famines, all these things, and there's more of us than ever before. So is there really that much threat on the planet? Or is it that people just don't like the inconvenience of growth and evolution? And if you can get in alignment with growth and evolution and actually desire the things that might destroy you, you're going to skyrocket faster than you can think. I remember noticing in school, like everyone wanted to like be proven right. And I just thought that was so interesting because like I always wanted to be proven wrong because I knew if I was proven wrong, I was getting somewhere. That's why every spiritual teaching that you absorb in the world, like make sure it's coming from someone who wants to be proven wrong in what they're expressing, because literally no teaching besides just pure love is ever going to stand the test of time. It's not designed to, but some people think it is because they're addicted to truth, the mind, the understanding of truth, not the feeling of truth. And they're two very different things. So consensus reality is designed around maintaining a particular truth. So your creativity in the world is becoming so limitless. There are no rules holding you back. I love watching people do things that they said they would never do, or that their parents said that they should never do, or whatever it is. You're supposed to be a teacher and you're like, no, I'm going to be a lawyer, whatever it is. Because every choice that someone makes like that is assisting us in moving into a reality where we can all truly thrive. So many people are apologizing for just existing. You will step on people's toes by showing up powerfully. And that doesn't mean we're rolling over people in order to get what we want. It just means that people who are addicted to their chains are going to complain when you open the cell door. Are they your inner circle or are they your cellmates? Are they allowing you to continue things that are obviously detrimental? And now there's something to be said about letting people have their experience. And then there's also, hey, like maybe we shouldn't be doing drugs this weekend. It's a balance. And you always know what to do, when to do it, when to uplift your friends and your loved ones, and when to let them have their own experience. Just like every parent goes through that experience with their own children. Yet we also have to be very aware of when we actually have that permission. Do we actually care, or are we just trying to correct people into our understanding of what is true? And there's a lot of people who aren't feeling the beauty of what's around them without feeling the beauty around them and misperceiving it as something that's taking away from their capacity to be beautiful. And that era is done. We are done with the zero-sum game. There is plenty of resources on this planet. There are billions of transactions every day. It's about choice. How do you want to show up in the world? Are you going to support the farmer or Whole Foods? And not that I mean, I love both. Been a Whole Foods shopper since before it was cool, okay? But every single moment we're voting for something. And we're all beginning to awaken to our voices. Truly, truly, what we want to create. We understand that we have choice. We understand that this experience isn't quote unquote forever. So we're more willing to take risks. One of the greatest blessings of the world becoming so chaotic over the last 20 years. You could say that 9/11 was kind of a switch in the game. Is that we understand that things aren't guaranteed. We had created such a structure in society on so many different levels and layers that was designed to create consistency. And that was really helpful at a certain time. But now that we've grown and expanded in consciousness individually and collectively enough, we can begin to undo the consistency that dampened our creativity as divine co-creators. We can create a new reality. We can cooperate, but we don't need to conform. And there's a difference that we're all learning. And we're learning that individually, in our relationships with family, with friends. And remember, like I said this last time, that anything that we're doing when you're working with cancer, virus, bacteria, fungus, parasite, it's relationships. Everything is relationships. Your interior design to something that appears exterior. But what holds you to that exterior condition, even if it's a partner, is your interior relationship to that person. It's how you relate that creates the magnetism to a certain frequency. When you're working with specifically viruses, it's the resonance between you and it. If there's no magnetic attraction there, there's nothing that can hold that in your reality. So the heart of healing is coming into new relationships with everything in life. And just in this moment, think of some things. What are some relationships in your life that don't feel optimal? And what could be different? Show me the expansive opportunities in blank relationship. How can I perceive my mother differently since it's Mother's Day today? I think one of the most powerful tools in perceiving the journey as a child with parents is, I mean, it'd be pretty weird if some of you didn't have parents, but we all have them. But we may not relate to them or talk to them at all. But what kind of world did they grow up in? I don't buy into the model that everything is in decay. If you're ever diagnosed with something life-threatening, just forget to die. Forget to believe in the decay that the world around you is promising, because it's a lie. So look at the relationships with people that are the hardest. How can I receive more compassion for their journey? How can I see that as limited as their perspective appears to me, how expansive that perspective must be for them, considering where they've come from? It's also important to understand that compassion doesn't just mean having a compassionate perspective so that we don't have to feel how upset we are by something that happens. Healing is a balance between absolute compassion and total rage. So let the primal, the G part of you and the healing mandala be upset. One of my tattoos was this like infinite love tattoo on my left wrist, and put it on the left for receiving infinite love. But the reason I got that tattoo, I was in San Francisco in 2012, and I was sitting on a rooftop, and I can like picture it now, just gazing at the Golden Gate Bridge, and suddenly I had this vision that it was me being abused by my father as a kid. And in this vision, seeing and feeling and knowing the light that I am animating him, abusing me. And the reason that occurring through this vision was showing me that it was pulling the light out of me faster than anything else. That to become who I am becoming through that experience could only occur because of that experience. That the light and love that I am loved me so much to abuse me into the fastest timeline, the most efficient path for me to become who I am. But that can only occur when your orientation is, no matter how much or little love I receive, always give more. In this orientation to life, darkness has no power, because it could only be a catalyst of more of me coming to life. More fancy words now, but as a child, that was given to me intuitively. And sometimes resentfully living that truth, knowing that, oh, I just have to be more love. Yay! These people get to do whatever they want, and I know that my path is to be more love regardless. Yay! Sometimes you just gotta let the villain out and play that character too. But that it gets old to play that sort of game. It's so empowering to be more love regardless of what you face. But let life love you. It doesn't mean stick around. If I was an adult now, I wouldn't stick around in, the type of relationship that my dad and I had as a kid, because that would be ridiculous. I don't need to learn anything from that. Another piece of healing physically from anything is, what is it teaching me? And can I release that thing from the obligation of teaching me that thing? I was talking to a woman the other day. She had been like sick for a month and pulled a bunch of stuff out of her. And she's like, oh my God, I feel so much better. But part of what we released was this. That's the only way that she could get love and attention, was by having something wrong with her. So can we release the pathogen of the obligation of teaching us that we can receive love no matter what state we're in? Can I release my father from teaching me whatever, whatever it is? I'm like, compassion. Can I release my father from teaching me compassion? Can I just download Source's perspective of compassion from the highest perspective and release that person from the obligation of teaching me that? That's like starting to work with like Akashic stuff, where you have contracts with people. But you can become aware. You don't need to like tap into the Akashic in order to heal. Like the Akashic, this is the Akashic. Everything around you is the Akashic. Everything around you is a contract that is occurring. What are the contracts around you? What are you learning from those experiences? Why are you here? You can be a victim, victimizer in the brain and mind and see, what these things are doing, right? On that level. But on a soul level, what is your soul learning? What virtue, what value? Because that is the resolution to the victim and victimizer. When the power that you're gaining as a soul is the virtue and the value of whatever is happening in your life, you can literally alchemize anything. The most annoying part of this lifetime for me has been always being aware of the value and the virtue and not getting to play the necessarily like fully human game of just like complaining, because there was always that part of me inside that was like, well, this is the value and the virtue that you're getting from this experience, and you're just on a research mission for what you're going to help others with later in life. And I'm like, yay. But that resentment really, again, anger, passion. So my soul has a lot of passion. So that means in my early childhood, and as things from my early childhood arise to be like released physically, anger is one of those things that I move through. And so it is my passion that is being integrated into physical form. And it is understanding the value and the virtue that we're bringing to the world around us. The value that I provide is the understanding of value, regardless of what you're experiencing in life. And I have committed myself to that to an extreme degree. And that is how miracles get made. The virtue, compassion, and patience. What virtues do you most easily hold? Recognize your own heart. What virtues do you hold the most? Is it listening? Is it patience? Is it compassion? Is it mercy? If you have mercy, God bless your soul. Because what is the opposite of that? No mercy. And that is exactly what you will go through. Because as the mercy that you are comes into form, it's going to press out of the cells of your body all that is not in resonance with who you are. One perfect example of that is Jesus Christ. That story, the myth, the reality, whatever, however you want to see it. The archetype of that is mercy. Came to bring mercy to the planet. And with no mercy was treated completely opposite to what it was bringing. As that soul entered physical form, pressing out of the cells of its body all that's not in resonance with what it is. Begin to look at life through a different lens. The people suffering on the street, what are they bringing to the world? Mercy, compassion. Can we release them from the obligation of teaching us that? Now, it goes both ways, like on a soul level. they're here to express and experience something of their own accord, but we can lighten the load for the world around us. We no longer require people to teach us particular virtues, values. And the chaos that you'll see in the world moving forward is just higher order coming alive and online inside of all of us. Again, don't look with your physical eyes. At least don't rely on them so heavily. Mm. Feel into your heart. Show me the positive qualities, virtues, and values that I provide. It is commanded and requested that I am shown the virtues, values, and qualities that my heart naturally expresses. Saying that to yourself. As you're doing that, moving into something that's just coming to me right now, just commanding and requesting that all anger that you've experienced, known, seen, heard, felt, be unhooked, released, and resolved of all ideas, beliefs, conclusions, understandings, perspectives, or perceptions about it. And downloading for you that you know what it feels like to feel anger. Without any ideas, beliefs, conclusions, understandings, perspectives, or perceptions about it. That you know how to feel anger from the highest perspective. Any anger in your body held, contained, structured with any tissues, cells, or organs. By any belief, idea, understanding, perspective, or perception. Is released, cleansed, cleared, purified. connecting this anger to your soul's direct connection to source, that it knows how to feel, experience, and express passion in the highest and best way for you at all times. And the same process for sadness, commanding and requesting the same for all sadness in the body, unhooking, unhinging, deconstructing all links to ideas, beliefs, conclusions, understandings, perspectives, or perceptions held or contained anywhere in the body to sadness. You know what it feels like to feel sadness without any ideas, beliefs, conclusions, understandings, perspectives, or perceptions about it from the highest. What we're doing right now is unhooking the stories that we have about the emotions we feel. The same for jealousy, commanding and requesting, that any jealousy in the body held or contained within any tissue, cell, or organ, across any layer and level of being, known or unknown, discovered or undiscovered, is all unhooked and deconstructed from all beliefs, ideas, understandings, perspectives, or perceptions linked or bonded to it. And sending those stories back to the light, replacing it with your soul's direct connection to source and source's perspective of it all. All depression, anywhere and everywhere in your body, depression is linked or bonded to any tissue, cell, or organ, is all unhooked and deconstructed from all beliefs, ideas, understandings, perspectives, or perceptions, known or unknown, discovered or undiscovered, and replaced with your soul's direct connection to source and source's perspective of it all. Rage, commanding and requesting that all rage linked or bonded to any tissue, cell, or organ is all unhooked and deconstructed from all ideas, beliefs, conclusions, perspectives, or perceptions about it from the highest perspective. Sent back to the light, resolved to completion, replaced with your soul's direct connection to source and source's perspective of it all. Timidness, commanding and requesting that all timidness held within the tissues, cells, or organs, linked or bonded to any beliefs, ideas, understandings, perspectives, or perceptions, are all unhooked and deconstructed to completion, resolved and sent back to the light, replaced with your soul's direct connection to source and source's perspective of it all. all pain, all unmetabolized pain, linked or bonded to any beliefs, ideas, understandings, perspectives, or perceptions anywhere and everywhere in the body, tissue, cells, or organs. It's all deconstructed and unhooked, resolved to completion, and sent back to the light now and replaced with your soul's direct connection to source and source's perspective of it all. All unmetabolized grief, held or contained in any tissue, cell, or organ, linked or bonded to any belief, idea, understanding, perspective, or perception, is all unhooked and deconstructed to completion, resolved and sent back to the light, replaced with your soul's direct connection to source and source's perspective of it all. That you know what it feels like to experience completions from the highest perspective. That you know what it feels like to honor the past, experience the present, and honor what's to come in the highest, best, and healthiest way for you at this time. All ideas, beliefs, conclusions, understandings, perspectives, or perceptions related or associated to consensus reality, held, contained, linked, bonded to any tissue, cell, or organ, are all unhooked and deconstructed, resolved to completion, sent back to the light, and replaced with your soul's direct connection to source and source's perspective of it all. And downloading for you that you know what it feels like to feel your emotions without thinking about them. That it's possible to feel your emotions without thinking about them. That you can live your daily life feeling your emotions without thinking about them. That you do feel your emotions without thinking about them, and that you have sources, truth, definition, and value of feeling your emotions without thinking about them from the highest perspective. Commanding and requesting that your soul's direct connection to source work with all aspects of your being, physical to ethereal, to close receptors for being an empathic sponge. And opening your receptors for being an over lighted transmission of love. That you know the difference between being empathic and being psychic. Demanding and requesting all beliefs, ideas, understandings, perspectives, or perceptions learned, received, integrated, or embodied related to heart-centered consciousness that are incongruent, incompatible to who you are and who you are becoming are all pulled, released, cleansed, cleared, purified, sent back to the light, replaced with your soul's direct connection to source and source's perspective of it all. You know what it feels like to naturally be in your heart, however it naturally is, that you can naturally be and receive however you are in any moment, that it's possible that you can live your daily life joyfully and naturally in your heart, however your heart naturally is in any moment. Pulling, releasing, cleansing, clearing all ideas, beliefs, conclusions, understandings, perspectives, or perceptions projected or received in any form, in any way that you have understood about yourself as being less than love, being closed-hearted, being unevolved, any ideas, beliefs, conclusions, understandings, perspectives, or perceptions related or associated to having a closed heart. All cleansed, cleared, purified, released, and resolved to completion on all appropriate levels. Replaced with your soul's direct connection to source and source's perspective of it all. Demanding and requesting that your nervous system be defragmenting any aspects of your nervous system that were fragmented through any related or associated information received by your heart that's incongruent, incompatible to who you are and who you are becoming. Replacing it all with resolution of the nervous system in these areas to completion in direct accordance to your soul's connection to source. Thank you, show me. Commanding and requesting that your relationship to the energy, understanding, perspective, perception of chaos be released, relieved, and resolved of all consensus reality that's incongruent and incompatible to who you are and who you are becoming. That you know what it feels like to thrive regardless of circumstance. That it's possible to thrive regardless of circumstance. That you know what it feels like to receive strength, light, love, power, joy, abundance, regardless of the input. That it's possible to do this regardless of the input, and that you have source's truth, definition, and value of doing so regardless of the input. Teaching your body that it is resilient, how to be resilient. Creating the electromagnetic grid system between all your organs to facilitate, integrate, and embody more of your soul in the highest, best, and healthiest way for you at this time, in direct accordance to your soul's connection to source. Clearing any remaining channels from the lower chakras between the heart, the solar plexus, the sacral, the root, and any minor chakras as the foundation for expanding consciousness in an embodied way according to your soul's direct connection to source. Clarifying, cleansing, purifying all psychic information received and misperceived through the heart, through previous information that your soul, spirit, mind, and body were operating from that are incongruent and incompatible to who you are and who you are becoming now. Thank you, show me. Commanding and requesting that relationships to all aspects of consciousness, known or unknown, discovered or undiscovered, from where you are now, be cleansed, cleared, purified, and resolved to the level of purification that you're at now. Returning all soul fragments to their original source, calling any fragmentation back to you, filtered, purified, and resolved through the light of all. And perfectly restored to their original form and function, and return to you now. You know what it feels like to operate holistically, that you know how to be your whole self, that it's possible to be your whole self. That you know what it feels like to exist in resolution and still ascend and integrate. That it's possible to be fully resolved and ascend and integrate simultaneously. It's commanding and requesting that all aspects of linear time that are incongruent, incompatible to who you are and who you are becoming, and all beliefs, ideas, understandings, perspectives, or perceptions that keep you from integrating your cosmic self into the body and resolving any dis-ease or disorder that can be resolved through this. Be done now to completion with grace, ease, and mercy to the physical and all things affecting the physical to the ethereal. That you know what it feels like to have your soul inside your body, that it's possible to have your soul inside your body, that you can live your daily life with your soul in your body, that you do live your daily life with your soul in your body, and that you have sources, truth, definition, and value of having your soul in your body from the highest perspective. That you know how to trust your instincts from this higher level, that it's possible to trust your instincts from this higher level, that you can live your daily life, and that you have sources, truth, definition, and value of this from the highest perspective. Ending and requesting that more of the ecstasy of your heart be brought online. All aspects of consciousness required to shift in order to bring more of the ecstasy of your heart online occur with grace, ease, mercy to the physical and all things affecting the physical to the ethereal with no signs or symptoms in order to integrate what is already done. Commanding and requesting that all beliefs, ideas, understandings, perspectives, perceptions, identities, attachments, overlays, addictions to the hormones of perspective, the personification, the attachment to depressive episodes, to depression itself, to all aspects of life that look or perceive themselves as depression, or all resolved to completion, sent back to the light, and replaced with your soul's direct connection to source and source's perspective of it all. That you know what it feels like to be curious instead of depressed. It's possible to be curious instead of depressed. Frequencies of resistance to depression, depressive episodes, all release, cleanse, clear, purified. That you know what it feels like to invite depression in and experience none of it. That it's possible to invite depression in and experience none of it. Commanding and requesting that all systems of your being, known or unknown, discovered or undiscovered, that are attuned, already understand, have already integrated and embodied quantum reality in the highest, best, and healthiest way for you at this time, are all turned on, fully expressed, resolving all aspects of consciousness, physical to ethereal, that are incongruent, incompatible to who you are and who you are becoming. You know what it feels like to be quantum, that it's possible to be quantum. You have sources, truth, definition, and value of being quantum from the highest perspective. That you know what it feels like to be quantum and effective. That it's possible to be quantum and effective. That you live your daily life being quantum and effective. That you have sources, truth, definition, and value of being quantum and effective from the highest perspective. That you know how to maintain your daily life while being quantum. That it's possible and that you have sources, truth, definition, and value of this from the highest perspective. Most of what people call quantum, will call neurodivergent, is just people who are quantum who aren't yet integrated into this reality, which is actually just a quantum point of perspective within all potentialities. So it's not that it's not quantum, it's just that this particular quantum bit of information that we're exploring seems to have forgotten its connection to the rest of all quantum reality. So we are just awakening and remembering the miracle of quantum reality inside what is already that. What that really means is your capacity to be unattached to anything being in any particular way. And when there's zero resistance, your capacity for miracles is limitless. It's very important that we integrate this piece before we move to the throat, which next class is going to be a lot more about your personal designing of commands, how to do that, when to do that, how to code things in a particular way, why it's important that things should be coded in a particular way, and giving you a formula for making those more efficient. But can you just feel in your heart the resolution beyond anything that you thought possible? And it's nothing extreme, it's just here, present, alive. When you're working on yourself or others from this place, this is the place that everything is already done. We move from resolution, not to resolution. Upgrading the systems in the mind, the physical brain, related or associated to quantum reality. Commanding and requesting that all pressure backlog accrued through linear time, held anywhere and everywhere in the body, is all quantumly processed and released and resolved to completion now. part of the heart of healing, the heart of resolution is not actually minding if something never resolves. It's like a couple of classes ago, and I think we were talking about like one of the most powerful things you could say is like, if you had cancer and you didn't, obviously want cancer, you're like, I want cancer. Once you clear that resistance, now that quantum space can open up. What if I never stopped being able? What if I never stopped being a procrastinator? Can I just accept that? You can't truly appreciate or change something if you think you need it. And a subtle, inverted way that we need things and can't change them is by trying to get away from them. Part of us that's addicted to change, the self-development crowd, and not that that's wrong, by the way. It's amazing, but when you're doing it from the right place, the right orientation energetically inside of you, it's even more powerful. But when you're addicted to change, you're not actually moving forward. Just things are different. They look different. It's like you're in a different part of the quantum field, but the aspects that make it up are all the same. If you really want to change, you have to change that orientation. Again, the relationship to what is present. One of the most powerful things that changed my relationship with my parents as I was and am still moving through complete resolution, which is funny. We had a really amazing call before this session that I was like, of course we would have this conversation just before I'm channeling for the heart. Because it just felt like, oh, we've arrived. This is the energy that I always wanted with my parents. And it feels really good. But part of what allowed for that to happen was I had to seriously grieve that I could never get what I wanted from my parents. And that was something that I always resisted. I was always trying to get things to be in a certain way so that I could receive what I always wanted. And it's funny, logically, like if you're doing the math on like this thing and that thing, like I'm actually not getting what I wanted, but what I'm getting is greater than what I could ever dream of asking to want. The connection that I feel is greater than what I could have wanted. What I wanted previously was, because every system in the body is built on top of each other. So when you're looking at like whether it's the chakra system or whatever kind of system that you're looking for development of consciousness, it's built on top of each other. So if there's a distortion in the solar plexus, it will show up in the heart. So a distortion of basically coming from the deepest, which is fear, guilt, shame, must not be worthy, to worry and control, which is the solar plexus. Then I experience that in the heart. I'm going to try and control the way that my heart, because I can't release all these other layers behind it, right? So as we're moving up or resolving each of these layers, you can begin to see how they're built into the next above it. So after we resolved this last layer, it was like these deeper layers that we're not so present conscious. We're able to be resolved. And then I could move into this space in the heart with even deeper clarity than ever before in these relations. So that's why I asked at the beginning, have you noticed like different things with your parents or people around you? How have those dynamics been shifting as we've resolved that individuation at the solar plexus? Being okay not receiving what you want will A, stop you fighting with life the way things are, releases you from the victim, the victimizer. I may never get what I want. How does that free me up to receive more than I could ever dream of asking for? And I share all of this, and I hope it opens your understanding that even though you can have so much access. I feel like, in consciousness, it's like I have limitless access. Like, oh, let's just do that. Boom, done. That will never stop you from having a human experience. It's not designed to. Does make it a lot more fun. But those things come online the more okay we are with having the human experience. The more okay you are with the G, the deeper your roots go into hell, the more those branches can reach into heaven. So don't be afraid to have a very human experience, to be jealous, to be angry. We're not trying to get rid of those things. They naturally will appear less often, but only when it doesn't matter if they show up all the time, because everything is a paradox. And this is why quantum consciousness is so important, because it is the embodiment of paradox. I love watching people try to figure me out, especially if they don't like me. Because it's like they can't, because I'm full of paradoxes. And not that I'm not consistent, I'm just consistently paradoxical. But we all are. It's just accepting that that is true. Trying to be one way all the time is going to threaten your life force from being able to play. And we're here to play in the infinite mystery that's constantly changing. What you know now will be obsolete whenever it ceases to be interesting to you. And that is why love is the only thing that remains consistent. But the chip that you use to shove the love into your mouth is going to be different. And it's important that it's not that the chips aren't important. It's just what tool do I need now in order to absorb, integrate, and assimilate more love into my life? Never be stuck to one perspective. Don't even quote unquote listen to what I'm saying. I'm just shaking things up enough so that you can be okay to shake things up some more. That's what's going to produce the most amount of healing. A dis-ease is simply some part of your energy field that hasn't been shaken up. And life is like if you don't notice it at the energy level, it will come all the way down to the physical, manifest, absorb, integrate, and then there's no reason for that to exist in your life anymore. So just be open to change at any given moment. This will help you thrive. Literally just this class, if you absorbed everything that was here and just focused on integrating just that piece. There's been a billion amazing things that we've covered and done so far, and we're only like not that far. I mean, 3/4 away. But like this class contains so much juiciness that will help you thrive in the coming years as things really begin to ramp up. And when the world is going into chaos, you'll see through different eyes and understand the opportunity of the creative license for your own life. You don't have to agree to the narrative of collapse because it is your personal design to express in a way that is unique to you. And the more free you are from consensus reality, which going through today has helped a lot in that direction, the more ability you can just notice your freedom to express and be something that's different than what was before. And if you're not so attached to what that was, then you can be present and create in the field of what is here now. Mm. What is that saying? It's like an ounce of prevention is worth more than a pound of cure, something like that. When you're not letting things get backlogged, when you're active in the moment and flowing with life as it is, just having that awareness of just one question of awareness. How can I relate to this better? How can I see this from a more holistic view? That will prevent you from getting stuck in little perspectives. And the reason that's important is because if you've gone into German New Medicine, the way you take in information creates conflicts, which then create resolution, which is in those resolutions appears to be dis-ease and disorder, but it's your body resolving conflicts. But the more open and receptive you are to life around you, the more you're just gently looking at everything and how can I interface with this in a more joyful, more relaxed way, the less conflicts that you're going to be currently creating in your life. If something feels off, it doesn't mean that there's something off with you. It means that the lens you're looking through is off or distorted from reality. It is a reality, and that's why people say, oh, you know, don't get rid of the story because the story is important. But also there's people say, what stories are you telling yourself? You know, so it's a little bit of both and, but what's most important is that you know that you're not just the main character, you're the director of your reality. So how are you directing the film that you're watching that you call your life? How are you perceiving the things in front of you? Does it feel good to you? And if it doesn't, what would feel better? And that's the difference between controlling and commanding reality. Most of what people think is spiritual growth is them just learning how to better control their circumstances so that they don't get triggered. When you can instead fully submit to the power of all that is that you are, and from that place, command that more truth, more love, more joy, more aliveness, more creativity, more passion, more purity from Source's perspective, from your soul's direct connection to Source, your unique frequency of all of these be downloaded, integrated, and embodied throughout all layers and levels of being, past, present, and future, in, out, and in between time, space, and dimension in all languages that you speak or have spoken. Starting to feel more of the energy coming in from next class already. But start looking into now that so much is resolved in your body, in your interior design, you're creating, you can create from a whole new perspective. But if your intention and orientation towards life is, again, no matter how much or little love you receive, always give more, the direction that you're creating will always become more clear. So don't be afraid to change course. And the more overarching things are, the easier it can be to I'll just say integrate. Because it can come through so many different avenues. Specific manifestation, specific creation and reality is absolutely possible. I mean, it's what I do in sessions all the time with people who are dealing with specific things. But again, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And if love is what is going to resolve anything anyways, every day I'm ready to receive and integrate and be more love. Show me how to do that. And you're speaking to the source within you that animates all life, that animates all others. And the dissonance between you and other characters, when you're in that kind of alignment with love, that is all, it can reveal to you what may not be integrated around love within others, but you'll have the perspective of compassion versus angst, annoyance, anger. And not that you won't feel those things, but when you're coming from your own awareness of integrating more love, it doesn't really matter what other people do. And yet it does, because you're not going to stick around in situations or experiences where you're being treated in a particular way because your focus is love. Don't compromise with how people treat you. Even if moving into a new situation might make things more difficult in certain areas of your life, that difficulty that you're avoiding in order to maintain a certain structure that actually isn't healthy for you is the growth that you're avoiding in order to stay in less than the love that you deserve. And that scenario is what most of the world is doing all the time, everywhere. Trying to get a little bit of gain here in order to avoid growth. And that's honestly just what we do when we're in shock. But so many of us are just relying on ourselves. And again, it all comes back to relationship. And cultivating the relationship with the source within, that direct connection. You're speaking and coding the software that writes your reality. Show me what next steps I need to take in order to integrate more of who I am. And sometimes that answer is you're actually going to need to stay right where you are because there's a value and a virtue that you're integrating. And that, again, should never be an excuse to stay in a position that is compromising. And that might also be up to creative will. Is there another way that that can occur? Like, nothing is set in stone. Even if you get some from on high answer, question all authority. That was one of the best things that my parents ever did for me. Starting at about 12 or 13, they stopped parenting me and they told me to question everything, question all authority, including their own. Don't take anything that we say and just like agree to it. Ask us why. So even if God says something to you, why is that? If only for your own curiosity, instead of just following the millennia of spiritual growth that has occurred previously which has been under that understanding of obedience to something. But we are moving out of consensus reality, even if that consensus is with God. Because you can follow a higher spiritual calling that is within you without replicating the same issues that have plagued authoritative positions in the world and in organizations, families, governments. We have to find that sovereignty within, allowing that choice within you to move in a higher order, to be what drives you there, not fear of something in order to make that choice. It's a very subtle and nuanced thing. And a lot of people get afraid, especially if there's a lot of religious programming around, I gotta do the right thing. But are we actually doing the right thing if we're doing it out of fear of retribution? Maybe. But if you can do the right thing from your own volition, that's pretty badass. But only you can decide what that right thing is. For a funny example, I wouldn't recommend, most people to go into the porn industry because it can be detrimental to your energy if you're not operating in a particular way. But I've had friends where they're like, "Oh, what should I do?" I'm like, "Oh, you should totally do that because it'll liberate your energy. The freedom of expression." But that may not be good for someone else, and only those people can decide what is right or wrong for them. But understand the dynamics of everything is going to be different for each person as we move into this age where sovereignty is showing up over consensus reality of what is standardly thought as the right thing to do. It's just what's right for you right now. And that may be different 10 minutes from now. Because each choice that you make is only going to open up new worlds of reality that you didn't know before. And not all of them are going to be right for you all the time. And I've watched friends of mine make that choice and go into that industry and be completely liberated on so many different levels. And then move on when it was done. And then still other friends also be liberated and then continue way beyond the time that they were ready to move on, because it's not about what's right or wrong. It's just what is right or wrong for you at the time that it's right or wrong for you. Your soul is always growing and moving and changing and exploring, and everything is a stepping stone. And some people want that resting rock to have consistency because consistency is seen as safety. But again, as the world moves into this chaotic expression of potentiality, the quantum reality that is coming online more and more every single day, it's not going to be so helpful or even possible to create the same consistency that we've been used to as a species. So follow what's right for you. Don't be afraid to make a quote unquote wrong decision, especially if that wrong decision is coded with that feeling of being wrong from other people, things, ideas, etc. Because you'll only ever discover more of the purity of your own soul within any experience. It's just an experience. You are untouchable. And sometimes at certain points in our journey, we have to learn that we are untouchable by making decisions that look counter to what we've been encoded with so that we can feel freedom. And then eventually that gets old and then it doesn't matter in the same way. But for most people, making decisions outside of consensus reality is the most expansive thing. From there, later you learn other things, but that's only right for when it's right for you. The 10 Commandments were written for people who, on some level, needed that. But there's a point of reality when that's not necessary because you just wouldn't do those things because you're naturally aligned with a higher consciousness. So there's all these different little steps that play out throughout reality. And unhooking our emotions from our beliefs, ideas, understandings, perspectives, or perceptions about them is going to greatly increase the capacity that you have to explore life beyond your ideas about it, to feel life, which means that you're going to have a more intimate exploration of life. You can really taste things, that you can be intimate with life, regardless of whether it feels good or not. And that just means that you're more available to change. Your capacity to change is greater. The ability of you to move from point A to point B increases. Which is funny to say when you're talking about quantum because you're really just remanifesting yourself in every moment, but it does appear that you're moving from point A to point B. But that's what we want to experience here. Taking like a 10-minute break, just rest into that. Doze off if you want. See you at 12:34, 12:35 Hawaii time. So 3:35 Pacific. And just letting me know that you're back in one way or another. Yes. Cool. So can you see how important it is to be unattached to how things are in order for them to be what they can be? As we begin to transition into the energy of the next class, you can already feel it coming in. It's so important to not mind how things are, because if we do and we try and do, say, a command or something like this from the, I need this to be somewhere else other than where I am right now. I need it to look differently, feel differently. If we're so attached to needing something to change, the capacity for it to change is massively dampened. Because it basically means there's something there that we're not receiving, and everything is consciousness. I've talked to bacteria before, and they're just like, they're in awe that I'm talking to them, because no one has ever communicated to them as if they were an equal aspect of consciousness. When you're really connecting with everything in life as an equal aspect of consciousness, even though the perspectives may not be equal, and things can shift massively. Whenever I really am having an interesting experience, even with people, it's like, okay, what are you here to bring into my life? Because everyone is an energy. It's a particular energy. So what is the value? What is my soul gaining? What is the shamanic initiation that this is providing in my life? Doesn't mean that we're gonna like it, but that's sort of besides the point. And when I'm willing to extract that value from it and perceive and understand the value in it, then my experience can lighten around it. Just like you can't fully enjoy something if you think you need it. If you need to be in a relationship with someone, you can't fully enjoy their presence because you're always in some level in the background considering if they aren't. What happens if I lose this person? But if you want that person, totally different experience. I want to be with this person. Doesn't mean that you still wouldn't experience a loss, but you're just being more honest about the relationship between two temporary aspects of reality. The reason why this experience is so coveted in the universe is because it is temporary. Your consciousness will live on forever, but in this reality, you are temporary. And it's the beauty of that temporary quality. And it's the temporary quality that adds to the beauty of what's here, because it will never be the same again. Because when you come here and experience, you get changed. And when you're changed, even if you come back to look through the same eyes again, it's going to be from a whole new perspective that you are. Because you are the perspective. You are what perceives. All the lessons, the values, the virtues that your soul has received remain with the soul. And so that is what provides the perspective. Two people can have the same experience and yet have different perspectives of what happens. And that's within the context of, their own personal journey within this lifetime on like a psychology level. But on a deeper level, at the soul level, it's based on what values and virtues each individual soul has integrated up until that point of their looking through that life. So the work that we're doing is very advanced in the sense that you're cleansing perceptions, the beliefs, the ideas, releasing the distortion between the way you see it and source sees it. And that perspective may not always be favorable to the character that you're playing, because it may mean you have to change something. Oof. And we don't like always having to change things. But now you can feel the lightness around the attachment to things being a certain way through all the transmission that we did today, and how that is leading us on to the next step. Because if you're going to be shifting reality through a command, the potency of that is limited by your capacity to integrate all of it. So if you're trying to get away from something, there's something that you're not integrating that you'd rather get away from, but then you're going to try and use a command as an escape route from integration. The command is the shortcut to integration. It's the shortcut to embodying more mastery in a particular area. And it, like all forms of magic, is inviting more chaos into your life to ensure that things happen in a more efficient manner. It's not always comfortable. Sometimes it's very uncomfortable. Every class that I do is like a nuclear weapon that I'm doing to myself. Because not only am I going through the resolution on the other side of each class, but I am already feeling and integrating next class so that I can transmit that one. But I do all of this work, I do it for all of you who are receiving it, and I do it for myself. For me, this is exploring beyond anything that I could dream of asking for by bringing it through. But the bringing it through is what changes us, and we're all being changed by it. And we'll also get into next class, just because you do a command and you're using that as a shortcut to integration of something can bring out more chaos. There are ways to code energy so that it can be received more gracefully and easily. So for homework between now and next class, just begin thinking about, just get into your own creative flow around commands. And bring like between 3 and 5 that you create for yourself. And I'll write out a little basic thing for you as kind of like a template. We've done plenty of them so far, but just sort of think about what things in life could be integrated in a higher way. And a command can be simple as like, it is commanded and requested that I integrate and embody more love in this area of my life. Show me. Feel it, witness it, whatever. Or it can even be a prayer. A prayer and a command, they're basically the same thing. Prayer could be inviting more love into your life. It doesn't have to be within the context of it is commanded and requested. It's just what I like. Because for me, it's like I'm typing. I'm just like coding software. I want more truth in my life. Be careful with that one though. It's like all the areas in which things are kind of off are going to show up. So just begin to play with these dynamics of commanding, requesting, praying from the perspective of integrating more of your consciousness into form, because and keep a calendar, keep some sort of journal or tracking so that when you start to go through shit, you're like, okay, what kind of magic did I just do here? What did I pray for? Why? Because then you start to notice the way energy works. And not just from hearing me talk about it, from experiencing it yourself. Where you say, I want to embody more of my sexual energy in a healthy and positive way for myself. Right. And then things start shifting and changing. You have different thoughts or experiences that come in, and that that opens you up or evolves you in a certain way. But it can also be inviting, literally you're inviting a trigger, and you're inviting yourself to be triggered. But when it doesn't matter if you're triggered, because it doesn't mean anything about you, because it's depersonalized. Do you see how all these layers are stacking up? Then you're just transforming information. It's coming in, aha, I see from this perspective now, moving forward, moving on. I can integrate more of who I am. I can become more love given this. That is high magic. It's a lot of people practicing magic that are just basically, it's like little egos trying to get more of what they want. That's not the kind of magic I'm interested in. You can do that kind, there's nothing wrong with it. But high magic is like living in the ecstasy of all of creation. Because it doesn't matter what is shifting or changing. It's just you're inviting more of these overarching themes of truth, of love, of abundance, of joy. When you focus on the particular thing, it's like trying to manifest money, pulling more money into your life. Cool. Well, you may call on more money into your life, but then life is like, well, you got to be a restaurant kid in order to do that. So better get a job. And you're like, well, what if I don't want to do that? Well, sorry, you can't get this money. But if you're invoking, I want the joy of working with clients who I assist into the next level of their existence and who are willing to pay me well for what I do and what I am worth. Now you're inviting yourself to make and evolve into the next step of your reality and matching that with the higher value. Everything has to be in balance. There's the invocation, there's the banishment or sacrifice you can think of, and then there's the administration of that. So everything has to be in balance. If there's something that you're invoking, there's something that you're getting rid of. And you are the one that is bringing that through. So you will, as you're making these commands, be asked to change. Just be well aware of that. But if it doesn't matter if you have to change, then, I mean, anything is possible. When you want to pull an infection out of someone's body, you're helping them process how to change. And we'll do like readings at the end where we'll just do little exercises together of reading each other. But what's important is that when you're scanning someone's body and you're working to pull this thing, what's in the way of that? What is binding Epstein-Barr virus to this person's body? Oh, it's all of their beliefs, ideas, conclusions, understandings, perspectives, or perceptions that life is too hard. It's all the codependency patterns that are in their life. It's blah, 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 whatever. And then you start working with commands on all these different layers and levels. That's what I'm doing when I'm working with you guys in this way. It's like I'm reading the room. What is in the way of preventing the integration of what is coming through, this new consciousness that's ready to integrate? And then you're just clearing it one step at a time. So don't worry about that for right now, but just right now, focus on what you want to be different in your life. And notice that the first step is not minding if it continues to be the same forever. And when that doesn't matter, you can then open up to that creative potential of whatever can be. And use, for right now, just use overarching themes. And just notice what happens in your life over the next 2 weeks. Is it more love that you want, more truth, more abundance? And no matter what it is, especially right now, and may it come with grace, ease, and mercy to the physical and all things affecting the physical to the ethereal. I learned that coding by destroying clients on accident. By working with people and blowing all their circuits, and I'm like asking myself, like, how can we not do this? That would be great. That would be great if people weren't like just fried afterwards. And that's how you learn. So doing these commands, and then just be observant of your experience of reality. And don't think that it has to be that way. What are the ways in which I can work with this in a better way that allows for things to run more smoothly, more effortlessly, more, I often sometimes I often will say, code it with be integrated nearly imperceptible to the nervous system. Because, you know, we can get really high on the fact that things are different, and it can be very perceived by the nervous system, but that makes it more difficult to integrate because there's more information in the nervous system just sharing with us, oh wow, we're different now. Do we really need to know that? Because it's actually, I can download you with 1,000 times more energy if I code the end of it with nearly imperceptible, because now you can, if it's perceptible, you can handle this much. But if I make it imperceptible to the nervous system, then you can code 1,000 times the volume of shift and change in your life, and it will just feel an effortless difference. Oh, like there's nothing that I have to integrate. It's just here now, you know? So, all that being said, come up with some overarching themes of things that you want, code it, command it, pray it, and see what comes up and journal about it. And just enjoy this expansive, juicy energy that we have cultivated together. And I love you and aloha. And I'm going to turn, oh wait, no, actually there's a few people, so I'm going to leave this on recording. Do you guys have any questions, comments, anything, experiences, anything you want to share? Unmute yourself if you're asleep right now.
Hey, I don't mind sharing. It reminded me so much of the movie The Matrix, when they're like plugging in stuff into Neo and these people, and it's like an instant download into their body. So that movie was really impactful as a kid, because I'm like, wow, this is how kind of how reality works, and I wasn't even aware of that. But now that it comes full circle, it's just so powerful. So yeah, that's really beautiful, and I've been having some powerful experiences with other people, and kind of opening psychically and things. So I'm like, wow, this is shifting. So yeah, I'm just super grateful to just be in this amazing energy. The funny thing was, before the sexual class we did, I was having this feeling of just death, and like I was crying before that class. And then as we went through that whole thing, I was like, oh my God, this was like so powerful. And each one is just building up. So it's really incredible. And I'm so thankful to be here with everyone. I get so excited. And I told my mom, I was like, she's like, what class are you doing? I'm like, oh, it's called interior design. She's like, oh, like furniture and stuff. I'm like, no, not exactly. So it's funny having to describe this class. I'm like, where do I begin? So it's just like I was telling a friend how I went through all my sexual relations and stuff. She's like, oh my God, that sounds so deep. And it's just been amazing. So very grateful, and aloha ma.
Oh good, aloha ma. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, it's so beautiful. And to just like, yeah, being aware again, because part of your interior design is noticing the mystical quality of your interior design, and being aware of just how you've experienced yourself before, after each one of these classes, brings you into a deeper awareness and understanding of the dynamics of energy and how it works. And it actually allows you to relax into the process that you're in, because most of what you're feeling right now is actually something that's already resolved up ahead. And so you're just like, oh yeah, this is I'm just working, you know, with this right now. And it also allows you to relax into, oh, like all this anxiety I'm feeling, oh, it's about to be resolved. I don't know how, but this is how but this is the process that I'm in currently, you know? And so we can relax into it versus the healer mindset, healed, resolved mindset versus the healer mindset. Oh my God, I'm so anxious. I just wish I could fix this. Like, do you see how it's like completely different energy and focus of what's actually happening? You're either focused on being that which is coming into the body and resolving, or you're focused on feeling all the things that are coming up, resolving. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's subtle difference, but it's so important to how you're perceiving reality. So and also just being aware, next class is the throat. So it's a lot of different things with that. There's clairaudience, there's channeling of your own, all different kinds of communication issues, things that you want to say, don't say, learning what needs to be said, what doesn't need to be said, um, different ways of communicating beyond just using words. The throat isn't just about communication through words, but how you're being in your body, expressing in that way. Where are you speaking from? If you have ever tuned into, I forget the author's name, but um, it's either the alchemy of voice. I think it's the alchemy of voice, but just where you're speaking from in your body can really tell, like, when someone is like in their anxiety, in an unresolved state. They're like speaking from like way up here, you know, they're like not really, oh, whatever. And then you're like speaking from the root, or I can speak from my heart, you know, and you can feel the different places where in my body I'm like speaking from. So just bringing more awareness to like where the vibration that you are is coming from, expressing out of. Anyone else want to share anything before we close? The other thing that you could do for homework is is a grief command, and I'll write that in the group, but essentially just anything that feels incomplete that you've grieved, like just things that you kind of like loop back to often. Anything that the mind keeps looping back to is something the heart is like trying to feel. So is there any situation, thing, circumstance, whatever it is, that you keep looping in your mind to? And just write a list of all of those things and then sit with each one, kind of like we did with the sexual energy of, it is commanded and requested that I fully grieve and complete and resolve the process with whatever it is, this circumstance, this situation, this person, this place. Literally be a place. I've done that with like DC. I lived in Washington, DC for 5 years. It was like such a highlight of my life, and I love that city. And I really had to like deeply grieve being there when I moved to San Francisco. So it can literally be a place. We connect deeply to places. And and some of you may be nomadic. Some of you may be quote unquote stuck in one place, clearing the connections to either, you know, the grass is greener on the other side. That's in part like a part of grief, something, an unfulfilled desire of some sort or another. But we don't necessarily need to fulfill that desire in order to complete it. And grief is part of that process, allowing us to, part of grief, you know, coming from the quantum heavenly beings that we are into these, you know, decidedly limited human perspectives, is the grief that not everything is possible in this lifetime. But there's a beauty in that, and that is choice. So do you see how grieving one part actually gives you access to something else, and it's greater than you could ever dream of asking to receive for yourself? So the sadness is wishing for less than what you are destined to receive. So grief is giving you access to what you're destined for. All right. I love you guys. And I hope you have a beautiful rest of your Sunday. And yeah, that's it. Aloha.
Thank you.
Aloha.
Yes.
Thank you, brother.
Ciao, ciao.